What's the secret to good? Libido is a huge part of it. Everything is why when your libido is through the roof, and nothing is why when it's down. You can improve your own libido by taking care of your physical and mental health, especially reducing stress. And you can also improve your partner's life and subsequently libido by helping them with the same. Part of libido is innate though. I've always had a pretty high one. My late wife was in retrospect nearly all, even though I reduced her stressors around the house by doing pretty much all the chores. I know this because the only one that I picked up after she died was emptying the. But if we had once a month in the last decade, it was a good month. At our peak over 40 years, we averaged 3 times a month. My current partner has libido that matches mine, and we can have once or twice a day. As a man who's neither particularly gifted when it comes to size or stamina, I've found a good rule to abide by is to just make sure you make your lady comes before you ever enter her. That way, even if you end up being a 2-minute to win it kind of guy, everyone's still got theirs. Also, toys, lube, and variety never hurt. Also, don't be afraid to laugh at something silly during. If I'm comfortable enough around you to want to be naked and stick my inside of you, then I should be comfortable enough to laugh at an accidental fart during a quiet, sensual moment. It's not that serious, and it's much better to stop the moment a bit and require you to get back to the mood prior than to ruin it with awkwardness. In a long-term relationship, it's about keeping things why. Foreplay and lots of it, dirty and flirty text messages throughout the day, dancing in the living room. Also a partner who wants to please you. That's very important. We are in our late 60s, been together a quarter century, and it just keeps getting better. Less frequent, but that once a week is so darn good. The text messages. I speak for all people who are busy doing something and feel pressured to reply to someone who texts me way too much. I'm going to see you after work every single day. I love you too. I am already thinking about your butthole at least 3 times an hour. I don't want to know how your aunt's trip is going in Hawaii right now. And when I send nice back because my thoughts are somewhere else, you can feel that I am not engaged. It makes you feel uncared for. For the love of God, keep cell phones out of it. Obviously, we are going to tea when we are horny and away from each other, but having a partner who is upset because I am not engaged in a tiny screen all day is for the birds. Emotional intimacy is significantly better with someone you are emotionally connected to. I would say that 8 out of the top 10 times I've had were with my wife, but the numbers are unfair because I've had with her so many times that should be the case. Strictly by numbers, she should have all 10. But those other 2 times were both with escorts, and that was mind-blowing. I would say in my top 50 times, there are a couple of one-night stands that were obviously no strong attached that would end up in there. But no other girlfriend I've had cracks the top 50. So frankly, I feel like this is the feel-good cliched answer. It's also kind of B's. While my wife holds the bulk of the top spots, for sure I've had plenty of mediocre with people I've had an emotional attachment to, and some of the best I've had in my life has been with no emotional attachment at all. One time I had a one-night stand and we were really clicking. It was super intense. I was looking deep into her eyes and she looks at me and said, "Say it," so I said, "I love you," one of the most memorable ons of my life. I met her outside of the bar after last call. Sparked up conversation while waiting for my Uber. 5 minutes later, we were walking to her place around the corner. Never got her number. I miss her. Told this story to say, emotional intimacy isn't only for people in relationships. You need to be able to open up with the person you're with. It can be someone you just met or have known forever, but you have to be vulnerable and let them in. Discovering that your partner is the right sort of partner for you. I mean, yes, 2 people can have good, most likely if each is trying to please the other during their naked times together. The idea I'm trying to convey is about having a partner who you can share your secret turn-ons with, so that you can act out with each other the things, ideas, fantasy situations you would masturbate to when you're alone with your own why thoughts. This may not be the answer alone, but maybe one part of it which can make good even better. I think this is great. It allows trust within each other and a different level of comfort to be able to experience these intimate moments, find out what works and what doesn't, and who knows, possibly find a new favorite. Have lots of it. You want to have good with someone. Do it with them often, learn all the ins and outs, indulge in any kinks or fetishes that turn each other on. Be open to experiment. The more you do it, the better you get it at it. It's as simple as that. I also agree with many of the other comments. Being absolutely in love, both emotionally and physically, with your partner helps lots and lots. With many people doesn't necessarily mean that they'll have with you is good. I hooked up a few times with a poly guy who got around. Impressive size? Yes. Good? Nope. We didn't do it often enough, and to boyfriend, neither of us communicated as well as we could have during. I also just wasn't into him emotionally or physically. Good communication is key. Tell your partner in a loving way, not the star way, how wide, beautiful, and pleasing they are. Give endearing compliments often during, yet be aware not to be overly so. A comment once or twice is all it takes. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Long periods of foreplay greatly enhances the. Pay attention to your partner's body language. That will tell you a lot. Be attentive to their needs and take just as much or more enjoyment from giving pleasure as receiving it. It's completely okay to not be in the mood. At those times, give fantastic body rubs and massages without usual expectation. A clean, private hot tub. Don't be intimidated by using toys with your lady, guys. My wife and I didn't start doing this until our late 20s, and her life was enhanced nicely, which made mine more pleasing as a side benefit. Communication, trust, and the mindset that your partner's pleasure comes first. Finally, someone said trust. People complicate, but it really comes down to three things: attraction, friction, and trust. The first one is a foregone conclusion. The second just takes a little practice. For the third, people harp on communication, but that stems from trust. You won't bother telling someone what you like if you think they'll mock you or leave. Also, some activities require additional trust to keep you physically safe: bondage, choking, rough play, etc. And if you don't trust someone on a basic level, it will be hard to really let go and enjoy yourself even with vanilla. I've had lots of throughout my life, and the secret is compatibility. You could have the hottest man or woman in front of you, but if you aren't compatible, it will never be that great. I wrote the same thing. Compatibility is 100% key. My libido is super high, and I need to get off a few times before I'm satisfied. This has caused problems in previous relationships where the guy just hoped I got mine in time. I've been with my husband for 8 years, and if it's not daily, it's every other day at least, and it's amazing. I'm not going to recite the good old no-brainers everyone is going to tell you: passion, communication, and instead give you something more. Don't think about the goal and rather stay in the moment. A lot of performance anxiety comes from thinking about the goal. Example, my will be so hard after this. If anything doesn't happen like you imagine it, guess who'll have a limp? You should rather focus on the sensations and how good they feel. Everything else comes on its own. It's the same with making your partner come. If you always just think about the orgasm, anything could throw you off your rhythm and actually be counterproductive. Enjoying the journey leads to way better results regarding. In general, being too focused on the finish leads to chronic overthinking, and nothing the mood more than overthinking. The frustrating thing is you don't learn that with experience. You either need to miraculously realize it or have someone tell you. I was 23 and had Ed about 2,000 times in my life before I found this out. It's very logical, yet so far removed from our nature. It's the same with planning. It just isn't as hot as spontaneous. Abstinence from vices and exercise. Somewhere I read that the Amish have the best in the world because they abstain from pleasure, boosting their reward system, and work the earth all day. I wish I had that kind of discipline. I'm curious what the criteria around best is. Also, I'd wager there's a lot of mental stuff related to their religious extremities because of the mental aspect of their religion as well. But so much of is mental, I doubt that best is really quantifiable or comparable when it comes to comparing multiple people. We are a super positive married couple and we communicate a ton. We call our talks the mechanics when we are in the middle of a fun session. Lot of technical feedback that neither of us had ever gotten in previous relationships. People don't believe how long our sessions go for, but often it's hours upon hours, and we spend the time learning the other's wants and needs, even knowing what we know about the other. We've told each other things we thought we'd take to the grave when it comes to fantasies. We call them deep darks, and we talk about it a lot. When we are having conversations with friends and it leads to that topic, it helps a lot of them to feel more comfortable with themselves knowing that they're not alone. Also, being vulnerable and knowing that the other person has got your back no matter what's going on in the bedroom is very liberating. We also have a ton of toys, furniture, watch, and try to outdo the performers. Oh, and also, eyeing machine. We also enjoy filming ourselves a lot and sharing some of what we've done, some of it on Reddit. I just started dating my partner. The first time we had, as I started to go down on her, I asked, "What do you like? How do I make you come?" She seemed to freeze up. Then she looked at me and said, "No one has ever asked me that before. I don't know how to answer that question." Then she parsed together a cogent roadmap of her favorite route to Orgasmland, and we proceeded to have some of the most mind-blowing either of us have ever had. So I would have to say clear communication. Also frequent check-ins, laughter at funny moments, and proper use of toys. A lot of the answers are telling you to find someone who is worth it. I think they are missing the point. You are probably asking what you can do to make more enjoyable. Here are my tips. Starts with the date or before you get under the sheet. The more you make them want it, the more primed their emotions will be to the sensations. Keeping the conversation light, being slightly drunk for that flushy feeling, and going for their kinks. If you know it, for example, a kind of perfume they like or clothing they find, why. The best part of a kiss is the anticipation before your lips touch. The same applies to. As such, foreplay to help build up the desire can make a big difference. For example, instead of shoving your tongue in for a tentacly slush, try to tease them a bit by exploring their other erogenous zone. If you don't know them, that is fine. Start somewhere, and let their reaction answer back. For example, ears, neck, fingers, running your palm like you are massaging their waist all add to that excitement. Make sure that you are both prepared, warmed up. You know how you have to warm up before exercising to prevent injury and to be able to perform better? Well, is the same. You gotta make sure that your body is warmed up. That does not mean you should start doing jumping jacks. Instead, make sure that your partner is wet, hard enough by working your way around the castle before banging on its doors. Slow and steady at first and sprint to the finish line. Orgasms are more intense if it is ran like a marathon instead of a sprint. Go steady. Do not run out of breath early on. And communicate with your partner, for example, are they comfortable? Is the angle good? Is the speed good? Do they want to change something like a pillow to change the angle? Finally, multitask. If you are the one humping, put your head close to her so she can do her part by kissing you. If you are the one getting humped, then complement the motion by adding extra spice, for example, whispering Y words in their ears and nibbling them. Time and communication. Nobody's gonna be good at right off the bat. There's no quick solution. You and your partner need to understand each other's preferences as well as communicate and even explore what you might like. Maybe you might need to consensually step a little outside your comfort zone to discover something you both enjoy. This can take a long time, but part of a healthy relationship is understanding it'll take a while to kind of figure each other out. It's gonna be easy for two compatible people to have good, but if you want to know how to have good in general, I find these things to be important. Some knowledge of how things work for yourself and your partner. Where's the clit? What do I need to get off? Mobility and cardio. Enthusiasm, eagerness to please. Good is almost always when both partners give more than they take. The ability to get in the moment and have resilience to stay in it when things don't go perfect. That means if there's a queef, you're not horrified or disgusted or embarrassed. You can laugh it off and move on. But it also means not breaking down into a laughing fit. Confidence. Well, the first secret is that isn't about you. It's about them. If you are attentive to your partner's desires, needs, and what they enjoy, then it will go well. It takes getting to know someone to really do it right, and some trust. Learning some tips and tricks never hurts, and for most men, they probably need to learn to have stamina, probably the most important thing for some. I found it immensely beneficial, but really it's about finding out what the other person likes and then keeping them on their toes. The key to consistent great is mixing things up. Sometimes there isn't time or energy for something long and elaborate. You need quickies sometimes. But when you do have time, not rushing it and building up the anticipation is key. Foreplay is really, really important. Trying and doing new things is also important. To me, I have to say that the best my wife and I ever had was probably what most people would think of as the most vanilla ever. When we were younger, we had plenty of vigorous, almost film-style sessions. However, when we got into our early 30s, our love life shifted. It was like literally 90% me, arms and legs wrapped around each other, and it was the beezing knees. The secret went from being vigorous, almost performative, to passionate lovemaking. It was no longer about getting laid. It was about making love. But then we went and had kids, so lol, life rip. If you want a technical explanation, edging for female anatomy. It's the key, not the kink part of withholding it, but you literally reach a higher peak of physical pleasure if you don't go past the first peak into making them come and hold off, slow down, then build back up. If you imagine the graph of pleasure on the y-axis, you can go up then straight down after owing, or up nearly to the peak, then down slightly, then back up higher than the original peak. Each peak is higher as you keep going, as long as they don't come. Then finish on a high peak. That's for outside stuff at least. Get midway up the second, third peak, then add in the internal stuff while keeping the external stim so they stay at that level. Then when it's good on the inside, get them over the edge on the outside to give a powerful double O. And don't chop and change your technique unless you want to stop them going over the edge. If it's really good and you stay the same way for longer, that's what gets you there. Diff technique every 5 seconds won't do TT for them. And obviously communication, everyone is different. You should ask them what they like. It's not the size of the ship, nor the motion of the ocean. It's about if the captain can stay in port long enough for all the passengers to get off. Also, give up and go nofap. When I met my last girlfriend, I was on a 50+ day streak. I was so pent up, I went for 5 rounds, and the only reason we had to stop was because we ran out of protection. Also, body strength. Work out, get some exercise in. A person's back and leg muscles are mainly overlooked, especially since you can't bang without twerking. So focus on squats and deadlifts. And for God's sakes, try different positions. I'm not saying go full Kama Sutra, I'm saying there's more than 3 positions. If you're making love, make sure each other's needs get met in an emotionally positive way. If you're treat each other like plastic dolls and go to town consensually. In a raw way, you are pointing out the basic dichotomy we as people experience in a succinct way. It's always based on consensual, always. That's the only way it's real. It's either ing or lovemaking once that is understood. In a ing way, you both meet a criteria for the moment and dance with one another. You try to get yourself off with one another. With lovemaking, it is an evolution of connection over time. When you're in a committed relationship, one based on love, many challenges and doors open up, because to truly say I want to be with you long term through love, I'm saying I want to be a part of a long crazy journey in which we are each other's center for intimacy, both you and not with all the mundane filling most of it. I'm here through the changes to respect, care, and support you as you do me in a co-equal way. A loving relationship is submissive both ways. You find your way with and through each other and are there for one another, regardless of external bull. True love-making is a life of shared respect and humility through our challenges, but we are not always there at the same time. It's communicating and staying in a space of open possibility that keeps love alive. Love is a life and a journey and can only truly be experienced in a committed, intimate relationship. With all of that as the environment of shared experience, when having direct physical intimacy, worlds open up through shared submission. That is the secret to the greatest I've ever had. Fully through shared submission. The short quick is ing, the long journey for the best ever is authentic and respected commitment. Be open about what you want with your partner and listen to what they want as well. Have the maturity to not be judgmental about their desires and have respect for yourself to not be ashamed about yours. Get and give feedback, what works, what doesn't, and take the feedback in stride and not as an affront. Learning to be open about it with my partner has resulted in the best consistent I've had in my entire life, and I've checked nearly every realistic fantasy off my Yule bucket list because of it. Should always be an open conversation regardless of the circumstances. And like any it requires practice, trial and error, and feedback to be good at it and make it the most enjoyable experience it can be for both of you. Chemistry is the first key. You need to click with someone. The second key is being able to read someone's body language. It's almost like an improvised dance. Some people are really good at leading that dance. Let them. As you establish a rhythm and vibe, you may begin instinctively switching between following and leading. Remember the characters Vincent Vega and Mia Wallace in Pulp Fiction? They had amazing chemistry and that bled into their dance. Also, appreciate them. If you appreciate them, they'll feel appreciated. No need to explicitly say anything. Let it be implied through the things you do and sounds you make. No two people are the same, and what works for some won't work for all. This is just how I seem to operate. I can tell you that the secret to good may vary from person to person and depend on individual preferences, communication, and consent between partners. Some general factors that may contribute to a satisfying Yule experience include communication. Open communication about preferences, boundaries, and desires can help partners understand each other's needs and increase intimacy. Consent. Mutual consent and respect are crucial for a positive Yule experience. Exploration. Trying new things and being open to different experiences can keep things exciting and prevent boredom. Connection. Feeling emotionally connected to your partner can enhance physical intimacy. Focus on pleasure. Focusing on pleasure rather than performance can help partners relax and enjoy the experience. Remember, what makes good is subjective and unique to each person. It's important to prioritize mutual pleasure, respect, and communication in any Yule encounter. Chemistry. Don't rush or hurry to get it. Let it happen naturally. And how can you tell if you have chemistry with someone, you may ask? The kiss. If it's a kiss that feels tingly and not much effort is to be made, it just works, you're solid, that's for you. If you kiss them and it feels like a stiff wall with no technique or passion, you got a dud. Everyone knows how to kiss with the right person. In my opinion, you just have to feel that initial chemistry that brings attraction in your heart, mind that defeats things like shyness, insecurity that a walled-up kiss is self-explanatory. I can give you tips and tricks if you wish, but there's only so much I can reveal on a general non-gender, non-quality given basis, so go out and get you some. Don't try making real love and feel that electricity. That's how ya know you feel it and become almost high after for a few moments lol for real. Legends have it of an ancient tome that told of a Yule position so powerful it could give the whole world an orgasm at once. The book's pages were ripped out and spread over the planet. History's most important documents have been rumored to be written in the back of the pages which were left blank. The Declaration of Independence was written on the back of a page describing global foreplay, the Magna Carta on the many positions of the tongue. On and on it goes through your history, wherever a document signed by world leaders shapes humanity. On the back of that document will be another page describing an aspect of the forbidden position. Some say if the book were to be reassembled, world peace would be obtained. Some say it would destroy us all. In those pages are all the answers we all seek.